Dear souls, in search of truth and love, imagine for a moment that each meeting, each glance exchanged, each crossing of paths is much more than a simple coincidence. That if you are here today, it is because you are on the verge of discovering a profound truth. Your soulmate is not a chance, but an encounter guided by the infinite wisdom of God. Today, we will explore together these divine signs, which, through seemingly ordinary moments, come to light your path. You are not alone in this quest for true love. Every step, every moment, every prayer you make is a piece of the great divine puzzle. So get ready to open your heart and listen carefully, because this message might just be what you've been waiting for. 1. A call from the heart. In the quest for a soulmate, there is a universal truth that few people fully understand. True love, the one that unites souls, is not limited to a simple chance encounter. It is not a matter of luck or chance, but rather a divine dance orchestrated by the hand of Allah. There is something deeper at play, something that resonates in the depths of our hearts. This feeling of everything falling into place, in perfect synchronization. How many times have you looked back and realized that certain events, certain encounters, could only be God's work? Perhaps you have already experienced an encounter that seemed too miraculous to be true, or perhaps you felt a strange sensation in your heart, like a distant calling, a soft breath that said to you, "This is part of the plan." If you feel this way, know that you are on the right path. God guides us through subtle signs, spiritual clues that are not always obvious at first glance. These signs can be dreams, unexpected encounters, or moments of deep silence where our soul connects to something greater than ourselves. They are there, around us, but we must know how to recognize them. Listen with the heart rather than with the eyes. We must open ourselves to this invisible reality, the one that goes beyond our immediate understanding. Inspiring story. Allow me to tell you the story of this young man who felt lost and disconnected from the world. One morning, after years of loneliness and doubts, he decided to go to the mosque to find some comfort in prayer. As he meditated, immersed in an unexpected tranquility, he suddenly felt a deep warmth invade his heart. It was not a simple emotion. It was a presence, a deep feeling that he could not explain. He understood that it was not just his thought or a personal feeling, but a divine message. It was as if Allah was whispering softly in his ear, "Don't lose hope. You are not alone." He got up, felt at peace, and within a few months, he met the woman who would be his lifelong companion. It was a meeting full of meaning, as if two souls had finally found each other after a long separation. They looked at each other and knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that it was not a coincidence, but the will of Allah. This meeting was not the result of chance, but a divine blessing. Have you ever felt a calling deep in your heart? A subtle but powerful message, suggesting that your soulmate might be closer than you think? What if you started listening to what your heart is telling you, instead of waiting for reality to become obvious? The signs that God sends us are not always loud. Sometimes they whisper softly to our soul. Maybe you've ever felt like something spiritual was woven around you, but you weren't ready to understand it yet. It is essential to keep your heart open and understand that these signs are a form of divine guidance. Verse from the Quran. In the Quran, Allah reminds us that everything in creation is a sign for whoever wants to see. And He is He who has created for you among the mountains roads and places of refuge and stars to guide you. And He has given you everything you need. Quran 16:15. Every star, every mountain, Every event in your life is an opportunity for you to understand the greatness of divine wisdom. We just need to pay attention to the signs around us. The truth is that God guides us every step of the way. Perhaps you have gone through trials or experienced moments of doubt, but at every moment, Allah has given you signs to remind you that He is there, that He loves you, and that He has a plan for you. The fact that you are here reading these words is perhaps already another sign. This could be the first step towards meeting your soulmate, the one you've been waiting for your whole life. 2. Spiritual signs. Recognizing divine signs. In life, God never leaves us alone. He constantly guides us, whether through the words of a friend, the experiences of daily life, or through more subtle spiritual signs that can only be perceived with an open heart. These signs are divine messages, indications that we are not alone on this path, and that everything, even what seems ordinary to us, has a specific purpose in the great plan of Allah. Signs from God can take many forms. Sometimes they manifest in a chance encounter, other times in the form of a dream that seems vividly clear to us. But often, these signs are hidden in mundane moments of our lives, like a small coincidence or a strange feeling of serenity that invades us at a given moment. It is in these moments that your heart feels the presence of God, an inner peace that gently guides you towards what is destined to happen. In this hectic world, it is not always easy to recognize these signs. We are often too absorbed by everyday life, by material concerns, to listen to the subtle messages that Allah sends us. Yet everything is a sign. The encounters, the thoughts that pop into our minds, the little synchronicities that seem too perfect to simply be coincidences. Inspiring story. Let's take the story of a young woman who had been searching for her soulmate for a long time, but who couldn't see how this meeting could happen. She often prayed for answers, sometimes feeling hopeless, and wondered if she would ever have a chance of meeting the one God had intended for her. One evening, while praying in the solitude of her room, a clear vision came to her. In this vision, she saw a man whose eyes shone with an intense light, exactly the one she had always been looking for. She didn't immediately understand the meaning of this vision, but she knew deep down that it was no coincidence. The next day, while she was going out to a place she rarely frequented, she met a man. He had the same look as the one she had seen in her vision. His eyes shone with a soft and reassuring glow, almost familiar. She looked at him, and something inside her clicked. She knew instantly, in her heart, that this man was the sign of Allah. It wasn't just a chance encounter, it was a direct message from heaven, a clear sign that she had found the person she had been looking for, and that her soulmate was right there, in front of her. Divine signs often come in subtle forms. Are you ready to recognize these signs when they present themselves to you? Or are you sometimes too distracted to hear the still voice of God guiding you? If you pay attention to your heart and the little synchronicities in your life, could you discover a path you never noticed before? Recognizing divine signs requires special attention, an expanded state of consciousness that goes beyond the surface of things. It's not just about seeing what's in front of you, but feeling what resonates deep within your soul. It could be a dream that wakes you up in the middle of the night, a word spoken by a stranger that seems to speak directly to you, or an inexplicable feeling of inner calm when you are around certain people. These moments are not mere coincidences. They are reminders of God, signs that He is at work in your life. Verse from the Quran. The Quran reminds us, and those who believe and whose hearts are at peace at the remembrance of Allah, know that it is through the remembrance of Allah that their hearts find peace. Quran 13:28. This verse highlights the importance of a constant spiritual connection with Allah through prayer, meditation, and awareness of His presence. It is by being at peace with ourselves and listening to the divine whisper in our heart that we can recognize the signs that Allah sends us. When we seek to understand these signs, our hearts find peace, because we know we are being guided. Remember that every event in your life has meaning. Sometimes it's the little things, the moments invisible to others, that carry the biggest messages. But you have to be ready to receive them and listen attentively. The signs of Allah are everywhere, and it is up to us to recognize them to move forward on our spiritual path, especially when it comes to finding the one with whom our souls will reunite. 3. Inner peace, a spiritual clue. In the journey of life, we all seek that inner peace, that tranquility, that sometimes seems so far away. However, when it comes to a soulmate, this peace becomes an essential indicator. It is not simply a passing mood or temporary relief. This deep peace, this serenity that settles within you when you are close to the person who is predestined to accompany you in life, is a divine sign. This is an indicator that you are on the right path, a path marked by the wisdom of Allah. This peace is much more than an absence of conflict or stress. It is a state of inner balance, a feeling of completeness that arises from recognizing your place in the grand order of the universe. When you feel this peace, it is as if your heart and soul have found common ground, a secret union with divine will. It's no coincidence that you feel this way. It is an invitation to follow the direction that God indicates to you, a path towards meeting the one who is destined to share this peace with you. Inspiring story. A man who had gone through years of loneliness and inner struggles one day felt compelled to go to a sanctuary. He was searching for deep answers, wondering if he would ever find the peace he sought. When he found himself seated in the sanctuary, he closed his eyes to meditate. As he fell into silence, he felt an inexplicable peace, as if every part of his being was coming into harmony with the universe. This feeling of calm and serenity accompanied him over the following days, each moment of solitude being tinged with this tranquility. He knew then, in the depths of his soul, that this peace was not simply a spiritual comfort, but a sign from God, a divine message that he was ready to meet the person who would complete this peace. A few months after this experience, he met a person who shared this same inner peace. From their first meeting, he felt this same serenity. It was as if their souls had recognized each other, as if they were destined to meet. They were in harmony, not only in their values and beliefs, but also in their emotions and desires. This peace that he had felt in the sanctuary was found in her, and they understood each other without the need for words. Have you ever felt this inner peace, a deep tranquility that seems to come from nowhere, but suddenly invades you? Have you considered that this could be a sign that the soulmate you are waiting for is closer to you than you think? When you are in harmony with yourself, couldn't it be possible that this peace is a sign that God is guiding you towards what is meant for you? Inner peace is often a witness to spiritual well-being. It is a reflection of our connection to divine will. If you feel an inexplicable tranquility in your heart, it may be a sign that God is guiding you toward your destiny, toward a predestined encounter, one that will bring true love and unity of the soul. Verse from the Quran. The Quran reminds us, and He has given you hearts to understand, eyes to see, and ears to hear. But few are grateful. Quran 23:78. This verse highlights the importance of spiritual perception and gratitude for the signs God sends us. Our hearts are the instruments that allow us to understand divine direction, to see the truth where it is hidden, and to hear the whisper of God that guides us. When you feel peace, listen carefully to your heart, for it is the echo of Allah's will, and it reveals to you the path you are destined to follow. This inner peace is the reflection of the divine light that illuminates your path. It is the indication that you are on the right path, the one that will lead you to meet your soulmate, in the harmony and tranquility that God has intended for you. 4. Trust in divine will, an act of faith. Sometimes, in the quest for our soulmate, we find ourselves confronted with moments of doubt, periods when the signs we are looking for seem unclear, where the answers we hope for are slow to manifest. It is in these moments of silence that our faith must be strengthened, as God, in His infinite wisdom, guides us through these trials. God's will is perfect, but it reveals itself in its own rhythm, and we must trust in that rhythm, even when things seem uncertain. When we're waiting for a response, whether it's a meeting or a concrete sign from our soulmate, it can be difficult not to get carried away by impatience or frustration. Yet each moment of waiting is in itself an act of faith. Believing that God knows better than we do what is good for us is a sign of submission to His will. Patience, perseverance, and trust are essential virtues in this journey. We must be willing to accept that sometimes what we imagine to be ideal is not what God has prepared for us. What is destined to happen to us will always be of a beauty and wisdom that surpasses us. Inspiring story. A woman, after several years of unsuccessful relationships and romantic disappointments, was on the verge of losing all hope. She came to wonder if true love really existed. With each prayer, she turned to Allah, asking Him to light her path and guide her to the person she deserved. She knew that if a kindred spirit was to accompany her, it was up to God to bring him to her at the right time. She continued to trust in Allah, even when her desires seemed to clash with reality. Then, one day, during a completely unexpected encounter, a man entered her life. This was not the type of person she had imagined or hoped for, but every moment with him felt natural, almost as if time had acted to bring them together in that moment. She soon realized that, contrary to what she thought, God had actually prepared something better for her. It wasn't the image she had in mind, but it was what she needed. It was a deeper, more authentic love than she had sought in past relationships. This man was the one whom Allah had prepared for her, and she understood that even in her doubts and trials, divine wisdom had never failed. When the signs seem unclear or the waiting becomes difficult, are you ready to trust in divine wisdom? Are you able to recognize that God's will for you is greater than your own desires, and that the perfect moment, the one Allah has planned for you, will come when it is most right? How can you strengthen your trust in His wisdom, even in uncertainty? Trust in divine will is not simply a matter of intellectual belief, but a daily act of faith. Every day, by laying your doubts and fears at the feet of God, you make an act of submission and trust. You recognize that everything is in His hands, and that your soulmate, whether it manifests today or tomorrow, will arrive according to the perfect will of Allah. Verse from the Quran. The Quran guides us, and put your trust in Allah, for Allah loves those who trust in Him. Quran, Tariq 159. This verse reminds us that trust in Allah is a valuable quality. God loves those who place their faith in Him, even when things seem uncertain. This confidence nourishes your heart and guides your steps. In times of doubt, remember that in the vastness of His wisdom, Allah knows exactly what is best for you and when it should come true. When you surrender to His will, you are in a position of strength and peace, knowing that you are guided by the one who knows the perfect path. Trust in God and the divine process is what turns doubt into faith, waiting into hope, and uncertainty into a firm belief that what is meant for you will come in its perfect time. 5. The meeting. The divine moment. The long-awaited moment arrives, often without warning. You have gone through trials, you have shown patience, and you have strengthened your faith. But when it happens, you realize it's no accident. Meeting your soulmate, this magical moment, is a divine act. It is not a simple chain of circumstances or a coincidence, but a perfect alignment of destinies orchestrated by the hand of Allah. It is said that the heart knows even before the eyes meet, that there is a silent recognition, a thrill that runs through the soul. It's as if, at this precise moment, everything you've experienced, all your expectations, and all your prayers have found their answer in the eyes of the other. This is not a trivial encounter. It is a moment where two souls recognize each other, where everything seems right, as if the entire universe had conspired to bring these two beings together. It can happen unexpectedly, an encounter in an everyday place, during an ordinary moment, and yet everything seems extraordinarily special. It's not the setting that matters, but the authenticity of the connection, the sensation of rediscovering something you had always known deep within your being. The heart of one immediately recognizes the soul of the other, and in that moment, it becomes clear that this love is much more than just chance. A few years ago, a man and a woman, both engaged in their own spiritual quest, met in a seemingly mundane encounter. A dinner with friends, a moment when they weren't expecting anything in particular. However, from the first glance, a strange feeling invades them. They felt like they had known each other forever, as if their souls had traveled together to other lives. This meeting was not a coincidence, but an act of God. They had prayed separately, asking Allah to guide them to the right person, and now they found themselves face to face. They then understood that God had answered their prayers and brought them together when they were ready, in the purity and grace of divine will. Their lives intertwined little by little, but what marked them the most was this feeling of déjà vu, this inner certainty that nothing happened by chance. They felt fulfilled, not by external circumstances, but by a deep peace, that of having found the other soul who corresponded perfectly to them. It was as if everything they had experienced up to that moment had had one goal: to prepare for this divine encounter. Do you believe that destiny, guided by the hand of Allah, reserves a divine encounter for each of us? When you meet that special someone, do you feel that connection that goes beyond logic and explanation, as if the entire universe had prepared you for this moment? This type of encounter does not always happen with great fanfare. Sometimes it manifests itself in the simplicity of an exchanged look, of a banal conversation that suddenly becomes profound, of a moment when, inside, you feel a kind of awakening, an inner certainty that what you are experiencing is special. It is the moment when soul recognizes soul, where divine will manifests itself through a simple but sacred encounter. Verse from the Quran: "And He is the one who created you, then gave you wives and children. He is the most wise." Quran 25:54. This verse reminds us that God, in His infinite wisdom, is the one who guides our paths, the one who places in our lives the souls we must meet. He knows what is good for us and when. And every encounter, every relationship, is a divine act orchestrated for our spiritual and personal well-being. Meeting your soulmate is a manifestation of this divine wisdom, a sacred moment where your lives intersect according to the divine plan. When you are ready, when your heart is open and your faith is unwavering, meeting your soulmate will not be a mere coincidence, but a divine act. Remember that every sign you receive, every feeling of inner peace, every little coincidence, is a direct message of God's will. True love does not happen by chance, but by a perfect alignment of destinies. So, trust in the divine plan. Your soulmate may be closer than you think, and what you are experiencing today is preparation for the most sacred encounter of your life. May your heart find peace and your prayers be answered.